Hello, I'm Jack Sheeran, and this is Talking Point. In this EU special, I'm joined by Alicia Mosley, a recent economics and politics graduate from the University of Exeter and former vice president of the Exeter University Freedom Society, the Libertarian political society, to discuss the European Union and democracy. As this referendum has increasingly become about individuals and personalities and negative campaigning, perhaps it's time to bring it back to the facts. In this video, we discuss the democratic legitimacy of the European Union. But if you want to know more about the European Union, trade and the economy, then check our other video out as well. The European Parliament is elected by PR. The Council of Europe is formed of nationally elected government ministers. The European Council is formed of nationally elected heads of state, and it's only actually the European Commission which is unelected because it's a bureaucratic body which proposes legislation for the other bodies to consider. So do you think, simple question, do you think the EU is undemocratic?
Yes, simply. I think it's probably one of the most compelling arguments to leave the European Union, actually. You have mentioned that a lot of these bodies are elected, and you are quite right in that they're elected, but as we know, a lot of elections are quite farcical, really, in their democratic tendencies. As politics students, we know that being democratic doesn't mean just having elections. There has to be a real sense of change of power and a change of position and who's in the position that they're being elected to.
So would you say that the European Parliament in itself, just that body, is a complete and utter failure?
So the European Parliament, so it has 751 MEPs that are elected by each nation, and their MEPs go and sit with the other MEPs who are of their political persuasion in the Parliament. And okay, so that's democratically elected, fantastic. What can they actually do? Very little. Do
you think the EU itself has too much power over our national parliaments here in the UK? Our national parliament here in the UK, for example? Yeah.
So like I touched upon just now, so our parliaments can make laws, like they do, that affect national issues, but then the European Union makes law that affects all the national governments of its members. And now I think perhaps if you're making law for 28 different countries, that they may be non-applicable or harm these member states because they are one size fits all, but one size fits all policy, well, they don't fit all, of course. You can just see that with the monetary policy that was put in place with the euro that made Greece, Spain, Italy, Ireland, Portugal bankrupt, and they're just causing more problems than they're helping with, and that's a real problem. Surely it would be better for national governments to have more power, like I mentioned, to be able to solve their own problems and not do it on a European level where actually it's not the best level to make these laws.
Can you actually tell me what percentage of UK laws are made in the European Union?
Yes, so it's about, there's loads of different figures of it. And some are up to like 90%, which is obviously quite high, and some who are pro-Europe say it's much less. But I'm going to say with about half of our laws come from the EU, and that we have to adopt whether we like it or not. For example, in the UK, the prevailing view is that we shouldn't let prisoners vote. It's certainly my view. If you've broken the law, then why should you get to make the law? I don't agree with that at all. Yet the European Union has made a law that they should be able to vote because it's their human right, and that's something that a lot of people disagree with.
Well, the 50% figure, I have to say that the Independent House of Commons Library actually disagrees with that.
Of course it does.
On that point, they say that the real figure is actually 13% of our laws, and this actually even includes all laws that even mention the European Union as a word. So, in passing reference or as a definition. So it actually is much lower, or are you just going to say that the majority of regulations in many other regards are still in place?
I mean, I did say there's loads of different figures, and I'm just going to take the one that's in the middle of all these different estimates. Of course, it's really difficult to figure out an exact figure, and it's for the reason that you just stated. The EU makes regulation on all these products that we buy, not just issues of law that the government puts into place that enacts.